How would you like to learn the secrets of two Karma Club Award winners on how they have built successful online businesses from almost nowhere to now running multiple 7 and 8-figure businesses by following the simple fundamentals of life? And let's see how they have used the powerful funnel systems, processes, automation, and social media to help their business grow at a different pace. Let's dive into their journey to grasp the strategy, mindset, action plan of how they have done it from almost nowhere to the way up to 7 figures. We are going to uncover and pick their brains of the top performing entrepreneurs on this show, how they have done it and how you can do it too. You are listening to the Nikhil Sai, the host, and welcome to the Nikhil Sai Show. What's going on? What's going on, everyone who is watching this show right now? Welcome back to another episode of the Nikhil Sai Show, which is hosted by me, the Nikhil Sai. And guess what's going on today? We are back with another amazing two Karma Club interview. This is just going to be crazy, guys. In case if you are a woman entrepreneur, just make sure to stick around. This is going to be crazy for sure. So guess who is actual guest hopping on today's podcast episode? This is a crazy journey, working in 9 to 5, trying to have that dream life coming true, but never able to make it happen, to actually making it happen through the beauty industry. She has been creating a revolution around lashes. She has been helping thousands of people quit their jobs and make consistent 5 figures as a beautician. She's created a beautician academy, which is killing it in complete North America and Canada marketplaces. So let's not waste any time and make sure to grab a notes and let's welcome Jessi Lane, who is CEO of Fix Beauty. Hey, Jessi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. Absolutely, Jessi. We're glad that you actually joined on this podcast today. We are excited for this podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely, Jessi. And this is great, Jessi. We have seen your journey and it's amazing, right? Like being in a job to actually building a multi-seven figure business and impacting thousands of people's life, helping them achieve their dream income. It's really like a dream come true for a lot of people, the kind of impact you created. So, Jessi, we would really appreciate in case if you can start with your backstory, like how did all of this craziness started?
Oh my goodness. I guess, yeah, it's funny, like just going back to what you said, it is crazy. I find I'm like pinching myself all the time. And I remember watching stories about people who had kind of done this or seeing people hang their two comma club plaque and thinking like, oh, that's nice, but I really just want to make like 5K a month. I'm good. Right. And then all of a sudden it happens and it happened really fast. But to go back to the beginning, I was a young mom, and when I was 24 years old, I had my first son, and that was not in my cards. I was actually taking time off. I was working at a bar. I was saving up money to go travel and kind of do what you do when you're done university. And God gave me a different plan for my life. And what happened was I had my son. I went back to work right away because money was really, really tight. And my son's father was working in Africa at the time. So he was gone 2, 3 months at a time, and then he'd be back. So I'm working my 9 to 5. I'm honestly just barely scraping by. And I felt like all I was doing was working and somebody else was raising my son. And I'm sure so many people can relate to that feeling of like feeling so trapped inside your 9 to 5. Like you're like, is this really what life is? Like, am I going to do this for the next 20 years and then I'm done? And why is there never any money at the end of the month? And why is it so hard? And so I was always kind of like looking. I'm like, there's got to be more. And it wasn't that I was unhappy, it was that I knew that there was something bigger for me. So I was really broke, but I saved up some money to go get my lashes done because I just needed a pick me up or I needed something to make myself feel good. And I got my lashes done, and the girl came to my house and I paid her, I think, $150, and she was there for an hour. And I said to her, like, you know, like, what's your product cost on this? And she said, well, it's about $4 or $5. And I said, oh my gosh, this sounds like this is crazy. And I said, do you think this is something I could do? And she said, yeah, I took a course over the weekend and I learned how. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll just do this on the side, right? I was like, if I could just earn a couple extra $100 and just honestly just make my bills, not even like pay my bills, just like meet them. It seemed like it would be something that was really good. So I took a lash course, and to be honest, it was awful. I did not feel like I felt like actually I should be paying my clients for how bad I was and for how
Mm-hmm.
just for Like it was so bad. And I just kept going. I kept learning and I kept researching and I invested more into my training. And I remember the first $100 I made from lashes. It was $100 bill a client paid me, and I remember framing
Wow.
it. I was like, $100, this is insane. Like my baby's sleeping in the next room. And I just spent, some time with a girl chatting about life, and she gave me $100 bill. So I framed it, and life went on, and I started to make more money, and I built up my clientele really fast. And within 3 months, I'd replaced my downtown income. And I was able to leave my job, pull my baby out of daycare. And the best part was I was able to leave a relationship that I was not flourishing in. And it was then when I realized like, it's not about the money, but it's about the choices that money brings you. And my whole entire life went from being so confined by like my 9 to 5, my boss, my partner, and just my relationship and just everything to all of a sudden me thinking, hey, there's more and I can do this. But then I thought, if I can do this and if I've seen how life-changing this has been, why don't I help other people do this too? And so it took a while and I learned how to, I got really good at what I was doing. And then I just started training and I started my own course. We were doing everything in person, like, normal beauty school, you would go in person. And we had talked about an online course and kind of done it, but it wasn't really taking off. And then COVID hit. And COVID hit, and like everybody, we had to pivot really hard. When COVID hit, I'm sure like so many entrepreneurs can relate to this. And I know that feeling, but it hit. And like all of us were sitting there being like, what on earth are we going to do? And like, are we going to be okay? Right? Like distribution centers, distribution chains are all shut down. For me, my whole business was in person. At that time, I guess it was a year and a half ago, I had one employee. So she was part-time. She was a single mom. I was a single mom. We had a good little gig going on, but I said to her, I said, don't come into work anymore because I can't pay you. And I think we've got about a week left till I have to shut this business down. And it was honestly the most horrific feeling in the whole world because I knew that she needed, she was relying on me, and I had a ton of other contractors who also relied on me. They're all moms and single moms. And I just like, honestly, I was like, I cannot believe that I'm letting this many people down. I kind of dove into the whole ClickFunnels mindset and learning, and I figured out that if I could pivot my offer and just restructure what I was doing, that I might have a chance. And so I did that. And within a week, I don't even honestly, it was like such a crazy time, but within a week, we had completely transformed my business to being 100% online.
Wow.
Yeah, it was nuts. And we weren't prepared at all. We were selling so much product that I had my 9-year-old in the basement with me packing up product. I had my parents coming over helping me. My neighbors, I hired 4 neighbors the first month that we made our pivot, and they were coming in, and it was great because everybody was like at home, right? It was COVID, so nobody was actually working at their job. So I was like, come to my house, come work. And yeah, and it just took off. It really did. It was like the biggest, it's crazy to me that it happened. And I also know why it happened and how, but that's where we're at. So we've been growing ever since.
Wow, 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 Jessi, what a transformation, right? Like it's really amazing. And I think as you just mentioned, Jessi, there is a lot of people who can actually relate to this on what's happening in their life, right? Different baggage attached to them is holding them off to unlock their full potential. But we're glad that you made through that, and you made your side gig as your main income and actually blown up. And I really love the story where you have pivoted and actually made it to 7 figures so quickly. It was just like nuts, right? Like the level of scale you achieved, hiring neighbors. Oh my god, like that's really exciting, right? That's really amazing journey, Jessi. We really
Thank
love the
you.
way you actually scale your business from scratch to actually having from one employee to actually hiring 4 of your neighbors in just a week's time, which is amazing. I think we can definitely mention that. That's amazing, Jessi. So now we can really see the kind of impact, especially beauty industry, lashes, and training courses on other people and helping you sell your products online created in your life, right? So I would love to hear like what kind of potential actually beauty industry has overall for women entrepreneurs. We'd love to hear a take on that.
Totally. It's funny because people who know me and have grown up with me, they know like who I am, and I find it so funny. My family finds it so funny that I landed in the beauty industry because I grew up playing hockey, playing rugby. I think in high school, I won provincials for like wrestling. Like I was not the girl who was going to go into the beauty industry. And I honestly thought that the beauty industry was where you went if you weren't smart enough to get a real job. And I remember like thinking that and judging people. And for me, what changed was when I realized that it wasn't necessarily about what I was doing, but it was about how I could make someone feel. And if I could have an hour or two with them and spend time and make them feel loved and supported, and then have them walk out from an appointment with me, walking a little taller, feeling a little better. That to me, what it was about. And so when I look at the beauty industry now, what excites me about it is that it's not only about all of that, but it's an opportunity for women to find like community and to grow together, and also to turn like this new wave feminism and all of this process into something that's bigger than what it just was. It's not about looking good for somebody else, but it's about
Mm-hmm.
looking good for you, right? The beauty industry itself too, when you look at different recessions and everything that we've all gone through, one of the things I heard, and it stands true, and I think we can all agree, is that in a recession or in an economic decline, the main things that are absolutely recession proof are alcohol and tobacco products and beauty, because people are always going to spend money on what makes them feel good. And typically it's those three things. And so it's a recession proof place. There is there's no decline. Like it's actually been the opposite for us, also because with everybody being home, being on camera all the time, the beauty industry is absolutely soaring. And I think that we're empowering more people because we're changing the standard of beauty. And we're seeing that everywhere, right? We're seeing that with the celebration of just different types of beauty and different body types. And I think that it's such a cool time to be in the industry because it's not what you originally would have thought, right? So yeah, that's what I love
Absolutely.
about it.
Wow, wow, really, Jesse, you're just on point mentioning how the industry is going, and lot of people are coming from the brick and mortar mindset, and you know what, like we can't really sell these offline, door to door, not happening. Let's shut it down. But you're coming from a different standpoint. Like, guess what? If you turn around 360 degrees, people are actually more interested in beauty right now than ever. Right? Everyone is trying to be on camera, so everyone wants to look beautiful. They want to feel confident. This is going to create a J curve absolutely, and you are in the moment and to create it. That's really exciting, Jesse. We really love the answer. So let's get to the next question, Jesse. When I actually looked at your stuff over, right, and the way lashes impacted your life, which is just crazy, right? Like once you saw someone doing lashes for you, then you literally built a multi-7-figure lashes business, which is crazy. So just typically, what lashes can actually do to women? Because I see you really have a core messaging around this complete statement. So I would love to hear what lashes can actually do to women.
Um, it's funny because nobody needs lashes. You don't need makeup. You don't need nobody needs anything to make them look better. But what I love about being a woman, especially, and now honestly, we're seeing more men come into the beauty industry. We're seeing more men kind of embrace that side of themselves too. But my favorite part about being a woman is that you can do things to make you feel better. And so, like I said before, it's really just about like what makes you feel good, what makes you stand taller, what makes you go up and say hi to that person that you see in the grocery store that you knew, versus like hide from them because you're self-conscious about how you look or because you're having a bad hair day. So lashes, I mean, I love it because women can get them done. They're always ready. It's like they wake up and they're ready to go. But it's the side effect and everything else that comes with just feeling a little bit better about yourself. And then from a business standpoint, I've always said this, like I do love the beauty industry. I've learned to love it and I love lashes, but what I love more is finding a vehicle to help you live your dream. And I don't really care what it is. For me, it was lashes because that's just what fell into my lap. And for my students, that is it. But what I've noticed too is that a lot of my students come through my program and just earning a little bit more money or having a bit of success shows them like, hey, I'm really good at this. Maybe I'm going to go do something else. Maybe I can do this. And it just shows them like my comfort level used to be here, but I pushed myself and now I can keep going, right? So it's not about the
Mm-hmm.
lashes. It's not about the superficial things, but it's about what it can transform inside of you. And that's the biggest thing that I want people to know.
Absolutely, Jessi. I think that's amazing the way you have articulated it, because people really need to look at the beauty and the kind of lashes they get on is more about the comfort or the confidence level they boost up, right? And as you just mentioned, once they try to get out of the comfort zone, that makes them to get more uncomfortable. So they start doing things which they have never done earlier, and they start getting outcomes which they have never imagined that they will be achieving. Just like what you have done, right? Pivoting from actually 9 to 5 to actually doing lashes to full-time scaling it up to actually building a multi-family, multi seven-figure business, which is amazing. So one other thing, especially when it comes to women entrepreneurs, right? Like they kind of, we need to see, like, they one thing they really admit is like, okay, I can do beauty, I can do makeups, I can do lashes, cool. The one thing they really have as a setback, or maybe an internal objection, is like, how do I get my first client? Do I need to ask my neighbors, or should I ask my mom to be my first client? So I would love to hear, like, what was your journey? Like, how did you actually get your first client, and how can someone else get their first client in this situation?
I love that question, and I honestly, I've learned so much just from watching. I love sales. I love that part of things, and I also have learned like it's really just about like stepping out of your comfort zone, and most people aren't willing to do it. So when I look around and I see like how I said with people who are in the beauty industry, I was so tired of seeing so many broke beauty professionals, because the thing is
Mhm.
the money is insane. Like how much money you can make and charge is crazy. But what most people aren't willing to do to build their clientele is to do the really uncomfortable first asks, right? Same with business coaches, same with life coaches, same with like any industry. The very first time that you're launching anything, right? Whether it's coaching, whether it's beauty, whatever it is, I say to everybody, and I say to all the people that I coach, I want you to sit down, and I don't want you to even think about money. I don't even want you to think about your offer. I want you to write down 20 people in your life who you have helped, or who you know are just great supportive people, or who are people that you just want to be around, like people who like you are inspired by. And instead of calling them and asking them to purchase what you're selling, call them and ask them to review what you're doing. So it's as simple as like, okay, for I'll use the example for lashes, but I listed my 20 people, and some of them were not people who would ever get their lashes done, right? So I'm like, hey, you know what, Stephanie, I am a little bit nervous to reach out, but I started a new business, and I know that you're someone who, whatever it is, you've always been really honest, you've always been like really, really supportive. I was wondering if you could help me out. Do you have like one or two friends who maybe would want their lashes done for free, so that I can practice, learn, and build my portfolio? And if you want to do them, great too. Let me know. And then she's like, yeah, for sure. I always make sure that I close it there. So I'm like, that's great. What are their phone numbers? And I don't let her
Uh,
get back to me. I just get it, right? And so if you do that and you call all of those people, and again, it all goes into, while you're building anything and anything in life, like you need to be a good person. You need to always be working on your favor bank. You need to know that you've done things for people that are genuine and that are good. And when you have that, you have a core group of people that you can call. And it is hard to build that list. Like don't get me wrong. Like I didn't have 20 people like right away. I was a single mom. I was 24. I was working. Like I had like maybe two friends at the time. But I went
oh
on
my God.
Facebook. I went everywhere. And I got those people in. And then every time someone would leave my space, um, I would ask them, I would follow up and make sure I took care of them. And I said, do you know anyone else who would want to get their lashes done? I'd love to give them a smoking deal just because they're your friend. I'm going to hook them up. And then they're like, yeah, I think so. And instead of letting them go, I'm like, cool, what's their phone number? And then I would go that way and build. And the thing that I learned is that people are sometimes afraid to ask because they're afraid of being like, nobody wants that like used car salesman or anything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
nobody actually, the bigger thing is, especially women, everybody wants to help. Everybody. So if you phrase it back to like, hey, listen, I would always tell people, I said, listen, I need to get home with my son. That's why I'm doing lashes. I cannot spend another day dropping my kid off at 6:30 in the morning and picking him up at 6:30 p.m. and like missing his entire life. I'm doing this lash business. Could you help me and maybe give me two phone numbers of people who would want to come see me and I can take care of them and make them feel amazing? And so that's kind of how I would say with any business. Same with life coaching, same with anything, right? You start with your why and you lead with that, and people, and if they don't want to help you, you know what, like F them, it doesn't really matter because those aren't your people anyway. Like if people just ignore you, or you just move on. But for the most part, we all want to help. We really do, right? That's like humans are really, really great.
Absolutely. Wow, like everyone who's listening to this podcast right now, guess what? No excuses. Go and ask
Totally.
for it. Right? Go and ask for it. And literally, Jessie, I really appreciate the information you're giving away. You literally gave a framework, even if you don't know Facebook ads, even if you don't have a funnel, even if you don't have a like a beauty kind of a setup to actually do lashes, like any beauty, kind of thing, right? Any service, like literally this framework can be applied to anything you're trying to sell. Anyone who's listening to this podcast, like Jessie, really broke down piece by piece on how you can actually get your first client for the product or service you're actually selling it. That's really amazing, Jessie. And I love the fact you actually come from a different standpoint of reviewing the actual service so that you can do like a beta kind of thing. Same time you get feedback and you get to practice your own expertise, which is just amazing.
Yeah, 100%. Because like nobody wants you. We all know those people who, and I love multi-level marketing. I'm a big fan of it. Don't get me wrong. When it's done right, it is a great industry. But
Hmm.
everybody knows those people who have like joined a company and then they like spam you. Like they just send. You can tell they just copy and paste everybody on their Facebook, and they're just trying to sell you something. And you're like, this person never even gave a darn about me once, and now all of a sudden, after 15 years, this guy from high school is calling me to sell me a shake. Like no. But if a guy reached out and he said, hey, Jessie, I remember in high school, you did so well at debate class, or you did this and this, I would love your feedback. Could you check this out? Because either way, what's going to happen is I'm going to go and I'm going to say, holy, this guy just like kind of stroked my ego a bit. He made me feel good. He remembered something about me. And I do want to help. And then when I get on that call with him and he shares his business, two things are going to happen. I'm either going to buy the product because he's good at selling, or at the end, he's going to ask me for a referral of maybe that shake isn't for me, but maybe I might know someone, right? So that's where it always goes. And then you never ever have to be like that awkward salesperson. Like no one wants to be that.
Absolutely, Jesse. Yeah, thank you so much for giving that framework. I think that's really helpful for a lot of people to actually gain. And I really love the way you're asking people to personalize because everyone is used to like, hey, I can have this magical script. I copy paste it to 1,000 people, I get 100 clients. That's not true, right? You really need that kind of, as you just mentioned, you need to satisfy the ego before they become a client because they want attention, they want respect, they deserve. That's what really gonna sell them. Absolutely, that's amazing, Jesse. One thing we really see in especially entrepreneurship as a woman, right? Like dealing with setbacks, right? Like when you're a woman who try to quit your 9 to 5, trying to do your own business, right? There are so many naysayers who are trying to set you back, more push you back, right? So how do you actually deal as an entrepreneur when you actually face with setbacks?
Um, okay, so I guess I hear almost two things because there's the naysayers, there's that, and I mean the bigger you get, the more haters you're gonna get, and like it is what it is. And then there's also like the setbacks component, and I actually don't see. I, I figured out really early on that the people in my life who didn't believe in my dream, or who thought I was crazy, they either like just had issues with themselves and they didn't believe in it because they couldn't see it for themselves. So they thought that it was bad for me to go and quit my job, right? Or to do this, or they genuinely cared about me and that's what they thought was right. So on that aspect in the beginning, when people would tell me like the amount of times my parents, um, the amount of times my parents have told me like, why don't you just go back to your job? Just to give you an idea, I was making in my downtown job, about in the entire year, my salary was less than what I make in half of a day now. So, and that happened, and I still have had family members come up to me and say, are you still doing that little lash business? How's it going? And I'm like, it's going all right. Thank you for asking. Because you need to protect your dream, right? So, like, we all have dreams, we all have whatever. And it doesn't mean you have to end a relationship with anybody. It just means that you pick and choose who you share those dreams with. And then the other people, you're like, it's going all right. No worries. Thanks for asking. How's your job? Right. And so that's that one. And then setbacks, I think at the end of the day, um, if you don't know why you're doing your business, there's nothing that's going to get you through like the highs and like the lows. The lows are like freaking low. And honestly, like the more money you make, the bigger you get, the higher the stakes get. But if you hold on so tightly to what it is or why it is that you're doing your business, that's going to get you through those times when you feel like you're going to quit. And I think that people who don't make it, like the statistics are so high of like the failure rate of like, entrepreneurs within the first 5 years, it's like 90% of businesses go under. Honestly, I think it's because, first of all, they didn't actually identify why they were doing it. I was lucky in a way because I was so broke that I was not able to put food on a table for my kids. And I look at that now, and there's always a blessing, right? Like you're going through that and you're like, how is this okay that I'm a mom, I've got 2 kids and I can't even feed my kids? But I look at it now and I'm like, what a blessing, because I had no choice. I had like no
Yeah.
freaking choice but to do it. But there's other people where the why is not quite that obvious yet. They might be more comfortable, but they have a passion. But here's what I know: impact is always going to happen. And like there's going to be something that's going to happen. COVID taught all of us that. There's going to be things that come up. So if you don't know yet what you're fighting for, I promise you, the universe is going to bring you something and you're going to be like, this is why I work so hard to have a plan B or to have a plan A, right? And when you have that at the very, very like center of your heart throughout the whole
Mm-hmm.
thing, and you shut your back door, right? Like, especially women, like stop relying on a husband. Oh, I don't need to work that hard. My husband makes a lot of money. You know what? Is he always going to have that job? Is your freedom and your choices in that relationship as good as they could be if you were equally earning as much as he is, right? And when you shut that back door and you realize that there's no other way but to keep moving forward, then any setback that you have, it's just another like bump in the road. Sometimes they're really big, sometimes they're smaller, but yeah.
Absolutely, but you have a complete vision to just get to that point where you want to be, right? And I really enjoyed this answer. It was really wonderful. As an entrepreneur, I'm learning so much from you right now. At the same time, I believe a lot of people who will be listening to this podcast will also learn a lot. Right? I mean, like the way you are going to deal with people who cannot understand your vision, just ignoring them and being friendly with them, right? And then just being very close to people who are actually having the same vision and gonna push you up when you're having that setbacks. I think that's just beautiful. And Jesse, one of the things which really amazed me is kind of our business in COVID to actually pivoting in a week completely from nowhere to actually completely online to scaling over 7 figures. So we would love to hear like a glimpse of how did you actually manage that quick scale. Of course, you gave us a little intro of hiring your neighbors, but we would love to hear more inputs. Like, did you do ads, or did you like what kind of systems you have in your place to scale over 7 figures?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I mean, it happened so fast. What I did was I realized that this is something that I've shared with a lot of uh, clients that I coach. I coach businesses that are 6 figures and up, and I coach them to scale, right? So I coach them on like, okay, you've got this established, but what are we going to do next? And I think the biggest thing that I learned is that a lot of the times, and we're taught this, like, don't ever compromise your value, don't ever compromise this. You can't lower your price, but there is a way to get the price that, or like a payment for the offer that you have that is 100% aligned with what it is worth, but you can structure it in a way that makes it more accessible to people. And so the biggest thing that I learned was like, don't ever skip over a dollar to make a dime. So what I did was I took my course that I was selling for $1,000 and I brought it down to, for COVID, I brought it down to 197. And at the time, it was like, are you insane? Like, how are you going from $1,000 to $200 for like, this is your main offer? But then what I realized is I have so many more other things to offer people. And if I can get them in my door for $200 and I can continue to provide incredible value, ongoing courses, get them to realize how amazing we are so that they will continue to come back to me, that's where like your time is leverage because you're not always going to acquire new clients. You're turning these people into lifetime customers. You're building like a cult, right? You're building a cult and a tribe of people who love your brand. And so that was a big part of my pivot. And it was a really hard thing to wrap my mind around. And I'm definitely, I would never tell anybody to charge less than what they're worth, but I would tell them that in every offer, there is a way to make more than what you would have from that high offer, as long as you know how to set it up and structure it. And you can do it in a way where nobody, like the client is not getting compromised on the quality that they're getting. And then you're also getting what you need. So that was a big part of it. We shifted that price. And honestly, like the market just loved it. Like it was like we could see in our Facebook ads that everything was converting. It was going over really well. And so we kind of just kept like, I'm a very when you don't have a lot to lose, And at the time I didn't, you kind of you have a lot to gain. So I was like, let's hit this as hard as we can. And we just ran with it. And so, I mean, yeah, that was kind of it. And then the journey itself, like we didn't have systems in place to manage the amount of orders we were getting. It was a gong show. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. Like I was like, it was crazy. But I think that there's seasons and everything, right? And so yeah, it was kind of a blur, and we did it. And then now we've had time to kind of just settle in and like set up the proper distribution systems and everything like that. But the thing is, if I had waited for all of those things to be perfect, I would never would have gotten started. So there's absolutely, and it's like sometimes you don't even know the issues that are going to come up until you actually throw yourself into the lion's den, and then you're going to get, you know, the customer concerns, the questions, the issues with shipping, whatever, and then you figure it out. So
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
that's really amazing. I believe a lot of people, they think about like, hey, I need to have a clear structural plan or the game plan, action plan to do it. But guess what? You can figure out in the road, right? Like you can
Yeah.
jump off and then you can figure out how you can land clearly. I think that's what you have done, Jessi. I think this is so much learning curve for a lot of entrepreneurs who are in the phase to scale. So they wait for that perfect moment to launch it, and and they just keep on waiting for years. And you have done it just
Mhm.
like pivoted immediately. And I love the way you decrease the price so that it could be accessible for a lot of entrepreneurs. And a lot of entrepreneurs who created the courses, they may have that ego to like, how can I decrease it? And they always resist themselves for the success which they can achieve. And the one who admitted and actually pivoted the way you did succeeded. I think this is a key learning for a lot of people. Like, you should let customers come in so that you can increase the value ladder and you can make more money, at the same time create more impact with your higher level offers. That's really amazing, Jessi. Let's get to the next question, Jessi. So, of course, you are started with no systems and processes, no clue on what's going on, but scale up to 7 figures. I believe right now you have so much stuff to done, right? You have teams, distribution networks, shippings, and everything which is going on. So, we'd love to hear like what kind of tools you actually use to manage your productivity and clients.
Oh man, that's been like, it's been such a learning curve, and we have bounced back and forth all over, right? Because you're learning every day, and and we're now at the point where we're like, I think we're getting close. I mean, do you mean like kind of like, do you mean like tools like stuff that we would use like
Yeah,
software
like
systems and things
Trello and
like
something
that?
like that. Yeah, any
Okay,
kind of
yeah.
rituals you follow.
My favorite thing that I just implemented was Asana. That's been we went back and forth over a bunch of different things, and Asana has been such a good project management tool for us and my team. We love using it.
Awesome.
My team is based all over the world, and so we use Voxer a lot, which is just an app on your phone, like walkie-talkie. So you can still, uh, I like it because sometimes in text things will sound a bit more abrupt. So if you can use your voice sometimes, just to make clear what the tone is, it works, and it just helps build community and camaraderie between your team when you're not always in the same place. So those are probably my two, like, they're not huge, right? But they impact my business in a big way. And yeah, and then ClickFunnels has opened up a lot of doors for me. And then along that, there's a whole bunch of integrative software that you're always doing. So it's crazy.
Absolutely. That's really simple, Jesse, and it really makes a lot of sense. And people complaining about softwares and kind of systems you need, like, guess what? It actually takes to build a 7 figure business. Not a lot of complexity, actually, right? To sum up, that's really
Yeah.
awesome, Jesse. And right now, we are already seeing you're already running a successful business and managing clients, and getting the coachings and stuff like that, and even making time for this type of podcast. So, I'd love to hear more about like what kind of daily routines you actually follow.
I laugh about that because then I think I'm not popular in the space with coaches when I talk about this, but I know myself, and I also know a lot of other entrepreneurs who have gone 7 figures and beyond in their business. There's no such thing as balance when you're in certain phases of your business. It's just not existent. And so when I hear people, they talk about how they want to scale their business, but then they also want to, do this and do that and do this. I'm like, it's kind of like when you have a newborn baby, you're kind of just like at the mercy of the baby, right? And then you get to a point where you get into balance and the structure, and then life happens and things happen. And so with business, there's seasons for everything, and you cannot maintain the stamina that it takes to like go through a heavy scale season. So you need to know that it's temporary and that it's going to end, and you need to make sure that it does. And then after that, for me, my favorite routine is I like to get up an hour and a half before my kids, because if I don't start my day before them, then they dictate how my day starts, right? And I also make sure that I put my phone on airplane mode, and I do not check phone or email for the first hour and a half of my day.
Wow.
because otherwise my emails or my texts will dictate my day as well, right? We all know that. You're like, when you're like getting up, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go for a workout. And then you're like, I'll just quickly look at my phone. And then all of a sudden an email takes you away. And then it's 3 in the afternoon and you never worked out or you never meditated or whatever. So I think for everyone it's different, but definitely having a morning routine and that is so important. It's changed my business, it's changed my mental health. But then also having so much grace for yourself when it doesn't always happen. Because I think we see people on Instagram and on Facebook and they're like, I do yoga every day and I do this and I do that. And I think that's so good and it's so important. But it's also important to not be hard on ourselves if we're in a time in our lives where it's not going to work. And to be honest, if it actually is that time where we're making excuses, right? So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. That's amazing, Jessie. And we really love the way you actually mention on how people needs to look at the routines, because they just want to be that one person with the routine when they're actually in a phase of growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, hey, I'm on my routine. Why am I unable to grow? Because you need to be a different person, or you need to have a different routine to grow, right? We love the way you articulated it, and we love the simplicity in your routine. That's really awesome. And Jessie, you've been in business, you've been a young mother, and there is an opportunity. Let's say if you have an opportunity to talk to 20-year-olds you or someone who's just getting started, what would be your number one suggestion? We would love to hear this.
A number one suggestion to a 20-year-old who wants to get started.
Yeah,
So
or
like
maybe your
they
own self.
it's somebody who has their idea already, or they have their idea and then they're kind of like sitting on it. Just go for
Mm-hmm.
it. Honestly, it's like see and they're like, well, I've had this really great idea for like, for this long and I'm afraid because I don't have the money, I don't have this, I don't have that, or I don't know how to do it. I My brother actually said this to me and I thought it was a really great thing that he said. I said, we were talking about my business and I said, it's weird because I'm not the smartest person. Like I'm just not. I've never really been like the smartest. And he said, yeah, but you're really, really resourceful and you can figure it out, right? And so sometimes people are like watching other people and they're like, oh, well, if I was like them, or if I had this, or if I had that, then maybe I would do this. But it's not that. It's just like get started, figure it out, and um, don't don't wait, because if you wait, somebody else is going to do what you wanted to do, and you're going to be so mad at yourself. And then the other thing is too, like it's not always like not everybody has access to the same type of resources as other people. I started my business off of a $500 credit card.
Oh my
And
God.
that's how I ran my business. And I also did not have access to any more credit than that because I had it's a long story, but my identity was stolen. So I didn't have any credit to build my business or to borrow money. So my business was built debt free, and it still is debt free. And I mean, with people have access to capital, it's great. But I'm also saying, like, if you're 20 years old, you probably don't have access to borrow a lot of money or to whatever. But you can do anything, right? We've got Google. You
Absolutely.
can figure it out.
Yeah, you literally proved it. And I think this is something a lot of people need to pay attention to, which is they think that they are actually having lack of resources or lack of ability, but it's actually lack of action, as you just mentioned, right? They can get
100%.
everything they want to, right? I mean, like, you build a seven-figure business debt free from a $500 credit card. Like, I believe everyone do have it, like no excuses. Like, way to go, Jesse. Really love the vibe. So let's get to the next question. You've been doing so much stuff, helping clients, helping them build their own beauty academies and actually build their own parlor business and stuff like that. So I'd love to hear, what are your life's biggest achievements so far and any next bigger goals?
Oh, that's so hard. It's funny because I'm meeting with a coach next week to just talk about my goals because my life moved so fast this year. I just I it's not that I've like made it, but it's that I never thought for 1 second that I could be at this point, right? And so I'm trying now to like just expand my threshold of what I know that I can do. This year, because of the growth that we experienced, my sons and I were able to buy our first home. We've never owned a home, and
Wow.
I moved into my dream home. Like it's weird. It's like it just everything kind of just happened so fast. But I think the biggest achievement for me so far is just the fact that I know when I look at my kids now, I don't ever have to worry that they're not going to be okay. And like that as like a mom and anybody who's a parent that's listening, like just being able to like tuck your kids in at night and to just know that you don't have to worry about how you're going to put food on the table the next day. I'll never get over that feeling. And then the other thing is, not only was I able to buy my house this year, but we work hand in hand with an orphanage in Guatemala, and they work really, really hard in orphan prevention. And so we work with a lot of women and the moms so that the babies can go back to them, right? Instead of just having the parent, like, having the parents leave the baby. So we work with the women and we work with the children, but we've been able to build. I have a team member she's actually in Guatemala right now, but through our
Mm-hmm.
fundraising in the last little while, we've been able to build, I think it's like 20 houses in Guatemala. And she just bought a plot of land through fixed money, and she's building a vocational school for women to get them into forms of work and to give them the tools that they need so that they can provide for the kids and get them out of the orphanage. So like
Oh my God.
that's
Oh my God. Wow, wow,
yeah.
that's really exciting, Jesse. We really love the impact you're actually creating, the way you're giving back, and the way you actually made it so quickly. And we are so happy, for the dream home you actually acquired. Congratulations on that part. We are
Thank
very
you.
excited to see where this is going to lead in 2 years, 3 years, because you are on the face of having that J curve, like literally you are a straight arrow right now who's shooting to the sky, which is freaking amazing. We're excited to see your journey. We are really excited, Jesse. That's really amazing. We're looking forward to it. Let's get to the next question. This is going to be amazing as well. So, what was your biggest mistake in life so far? Maybe in terms of business.
In terms of business, oh my goodness. Oh, I think it's like you you're always like you're always going to be thrown the same lesson over and over, but in different scenarios and disguised as different things until you actually learn that lesson and like deal with it. Right? So like I'm sure you can probably think about like it's like, okay, why is this happening? Every time something like that happens to me, I always think, okay, like why? Like what is going on here? And so I mean my mistakes, like I've made so many, it's unbelievable. And like it's cost me so much money and heartache and whatnot. But I think they're not even really mistakes to me because it is what it is, right? And you learn from it and you move on. Um, I guess like to be more specific though, like right now, the biggest lesson I've learned this whole entire year, and I'm like, it's really cool because I'm breaking through it right now. I didn't have enough boundaries. And so I think I'm just like a symptom of, people, women, my generation and of patriarchy. And I've spent a lot of my life just really like being like holding in things that I should say. And in turn, it ends up like not having boundaries ends up really affecting yourself and your business and everything like that. And so I've really learned, and I'm working on it still, but like how to advocate for myself, how to use my voice, and how to like just really know that my opinion and what I have to say and what I have to share in a room full of people, it matters. And I think the biggest mistake that I spent the last little while learning is that I underestimated myself. And I think a lot of women do. I think that we're used to just being quiet, right? And we don't need to be.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's something every woman need to admit, and they should be really be like, oh, it's time to speak. It's time to show up who you are. It's time to get into some action and get stuff what you want to right do. That's just amazing, Jesse. We really love the fact. And let's get to the next question, Jesse. We have a couple more questions here. So your main inspiration for success you achieved and any key people involved in your journey.
My main inspiration for success is my kids, and I know that's every parent would say that, but and bigger than that, I think that I have always just felt like I wasn't good enough and that I had to prove that. And I feel like now, regardless of the numbers, but just for me, like just knowing and proving to myself that I was able to follow through on something that I did and a dream that I had, that's been like what's driven me. And healthy or not, I'm not sure, but that's kind of what it is. Like I'm like, hey, Dad, look at me, I did it. You didn't think I could, right? Um,
Yeah, that's
Side note
amazing.
though, if you do that and you have like if you have like external drivers like that, you're probably still not going to get the feedback that you want from that person. So you have to be okay with not getting it. And then keep people involved. I mean, it's been crazy. My business has changed a lot, and so I've had like different people come and go. But this year, I sat down and I made a commitment to myself to manifest strong female women who were more successful than me because I just had grown out of my circle a little bit, and I needed people that were like doing bigger things, right? And it's harder sometimes to find. I didn't grow up with a lot of like those type of role models, and so three really, really strong women were brought into my life in a kind of a mentor friend role. and it's been really really amazing, and I've been really lucky to be able to connect with them. So I think for me it's like the only key person at the end of the day. I think you have to be okay with standing on your own as an entrepreneur, and the people around you are going to come and go because nobody's ever going to be as passionate about your business as you are. Um, and as long as you're okay with that, and it's hard and it's lonely, but as long as you're okay with that, then you build up other people around you that you can empower, that will stick with you because you've created a vision for them for what it can do.
Yeah, absolutely. On point. Spot on. Wow, Jesse, like this is so amazing, and really we really appreciate the golden nuggets you're actually dropping. Like guess what? Like you're such a cool person from continuously for from 45 minutes. You've been dropping so many value bombs on how someone can actually start and scale a business dramatically, having the core fundamentals of life, right? Like understanding the mindset and having the strategy, getting that resourcefulness. Nobody really talks about that. That's really something we really pay attention to you, Jesse. Love it, love it. So you're such a cool person. Like, where can our
Thank
audience
you.
find you mentoring? Like, where can our audience find you mentoring?
Well, actually, so I do right now. I do one-to-one coaching, but because my time is limited, I'm pretty selective about it. But we're working on a few other things coming down the ropes, and so it is something that's going to be coming out. But for right now, I mean, on Instagram, if people want to follow me there, and then wait and see because we're dropping something in about 2 weeks.
Wow.
That is going to be really exciting because up until now, I've actually never. I love coaching and I love working with other businesses, but I've done it just on just a handful of people because my time is limited. And
Mm-hmm.
we're just about to bring something else out. So yeah, my Instagram is Jessi, Jessi, and then J Lane, Lane, and you can check
Mm-hmm.
me out there. And yeah, that see what
Yeah,
happens
stay
when you
tuned.
open that
Yeah,
up.
stay tuned, guys. Follow Jessie. I'm gonna drop her Instagram profile link in the podcast description so that you can grab that, and just make sure to follow her because guess what you're gonna miss out, right? So many learnings and amazing offers to handhold you and help you build your own business, which is freaking amazing. We are really excited to look at that transformation and your new offers, which are going to transform potentially tens of thousands of people. Jessie, we are really excited to see that. Thank you so much. We really enjoyed the podcast. Any last word before we conclude the entire podcast session today?
No, I mean, thank you so much for having me and thank you for doing what you do. I think it's amazing that you get to reach people and to share with them, that it is possible. And I think that there's a really strong message here, right? And I think that we're going to see a lot of really, really cool things in the next 10 years from people like you who are spreading this word and who are inspiring other people. So I think it's great.
Yeah, yeah, really appreciate it, Jesse. Thank you so much. You really made my day, and I think that's what's gonna drive me over and over. Yeah, let's do this, right? So I really appreciate that, Jesse. And Jesse, really amazing person. Thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. We really enjoyed the time you are actually on this podcast. Thank you so much for the amazing value you actually dropped on this podcast today. So, guys who are actually listening to this podcast, make sure to re-listen, take notes, start implementing this inside your business, and make sure to follow Jesse on Instagram, which I'm gonna drop the link in the description. And you're gonna have good days. And just stay tuned and take consistent action. So hope everyone who actually listened to this podcast so far enjoyed the podcast sessions today. So stay tuned for the next interviews, guy. We are actually gonna get another True Karma Club award winner very soon. So this is me, the Nikhil Sai, and Jesse Lane hopping off for today. Bye, Jesse. Peace out.
Thank you. Bye.